It's been a long time now since any team outside of the typical top 5 European leagues has won a Champions League title. In fact, it was 20 years ago when a team last did it with Jose Mourinho's Porto side in 2003. But today, we're going to try and replicate that feat in 5 years as manager, but instead, we'll be in charge of a different Portuguese side, Sporting Club de Portugal. Famous for their excellent youth academy that's produced the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo in the past, they are one of the biggest sides in their nation, and the club is no stranger to success with 19 Portuguese top division wins. In fact, they made it 20 this year under Ruben Amorim, and they have a European Cup Winners' Cup, so they have European pedigree, but that's all the way back in 1964. And whilst 5 years to win the UCL with this club might seem like a long way away, I think we've got some good players here to help us towards that target. Victor Gyökeres is one of Europe's deadliest strikers and our main man up top. Pedro Gonçalves is a brilliant left-wing option, and Martin Hjulmand is a brilliant defensive midfielder. But it's not only the established players that will help this team, we've got lots of great young players, as Sporting Club de Portugal always do. 21-year-old academy product Gonçalo Ignacio is a brilliant defender, as is the young Spanish fullback Ivan Fresneda. The real jewel in the crown is our centre-back Ousmane Diomande, who is one of the best young defenders in the world. And we didn't even mention the likes of Trincao, Morita and Coates, so we've got a really good team here, even if it's not quite Champions League quality just yet. But fear not, we have some funds to invest in the team. It's not a crazy amount, but we do have £9 million to spend. So let's start off with some transfers in Season 1, let's see how that team does, and then we can really get stuck into building our own squad in Season 2 onwards. But let's see who we can sign and who we can sell. And in transfer window number 1, I wasn't actually able to shift any players off the books, so we only had that 9 million to work with, but I think we made some good signings with it. And the first incoming was Arden Yashri, who we have loaned back out to his home club of Luzern. We spent £5 million on him from the Swiss divisions, and that could rise to 5.5. He's a 21-year-old midfielder with a lot of ability and a lot of potential too, and I will be trying to bring in as many young players into this team as I can to develop these young talents, sell them on for huge profits, and I feel like that's the way that we're going to guide this team forward. And with that in mind, we've also brought in a young defender, 19-year-old Nicolas Romero. The Argentinian looks to be a very good pickup, valued now at 15 million. He cost us a grand total of 4.5 mil from the Argentinian divisions, where he was playing for Atletico Tucumán. Now, he is a good player already with a lot of potential to grow, and he's good with the ball at his feet, which is something that we want our players to do, because I have settled on a 3 at the back formation. The club in real life has been playing that system under Ruben Amorim, and it's worked really well for them, so I have gone for something similar, and this is what is currently considered our best 11. In goal, we have Antonio Aidan. He's a Spanish 36-year-old goalkeeper. We can't rely on him forever, but he isn't a bad option. With Coates at the back, he's 32 with a contract expiring at the end of Season 1, and whilst I could extend that deal, I'm actually going to let him go at the end of the first season. The reason for that is that's what the club has done in real life, so he's only going to be with us for 1 season, and then we need to replace him. Partnering him in defence is Diomande and Ignacio, who you've met. In the wing-back positions, we've got Esquiao, and also at left wing-back, we've got Matthias Reis. Apologies for my pronunciation of these names. I'm not fluent in Portuguese here, so any Portuguese speakers, do try and let me off. Then the midfield is Morita, who looks to be a very handy option, age 28, and Hjulmand, who you've met, with Marcus Edwards, the Englishman, on right wing. That is a name that I can pronounce, thankfully. Then on the left wing, we've got Gonçalves, and then Gyökeres up top. So it's a pretty strong first 11. In terms of the season preview, the game predicts us to finish in 3rd place. Okay, so we're not favourites for the league just yet, and that needs to be our first aim, to become the best side in the nation, and then we can push on to win the Champions League. We've got 5-1 odds of winning the title, so Porto and Benfica are considered much better than us. We might only be predicted 3rd, but in real life, they did win the title, so let's see if I'm as good of a manager as Ruben Amorim was. And unfortunately, the answer to that was no. I wasn't able to repeat the feats the club had done in real life, but we did have some good performances across the season. One of the highlights was this home game against Braga, where we opened the scoring from a corner routine where Gyökeres powered home. They then hit back with a corner of their own, with Banza rising highest to knock it into the back of the net. But we did show the kind of football we could play in the system we were developing, with Morita receiving the ball in the 25th minute and making it 2-1. And in the second half, we used the width of our team to create even more more chances, Ignacio playing it through to Gyökeres, a brilliant goal from back to front. And another set piece went well, Edwards playing it in towards the end of the game and Diamonde powering home. And we added the fifth not too long afterwards, another set piece routine, the ball fell out to Ignacio, who managed to carry the ball towards the area, managed to dribble past a few and blast it home. That led to a fairly respectable league finish of third place, 76 points, not too bad, 6 losses, 4 draws, but quite a distance away from the eventual winners Porto on 90 points. And then the domestic cup competitions, we didn't do too great in either, but we were in the Europa League this year. We managed to make it all the way to a quarter-final. Having dispatched Freiburg in the round of 16, we came into the quarter-finals against Atalanta, hoping to make the semis, but they had other ideas. After 30 seconds, they scored this. And as the second half crept on, we tried to stay in the game, but at our home stadium, we ended up going 2-0 down, Scalvini receiving the ball on the edge of the area and powering home. And if that wasn't already bad enough, we were exploited again. Lookman receiving the ball on the left wing, played it through to Ruggeri, who went into the area and a deflected shot made it free. We did manage to pull one goal back towards the end of the game, Braganca playing a good ball through to Gyökeres. But that was it, 3-1 in the home leg, 1-1 in the away leg. We went out of the competition with a 4-2 defeat. So overall, it wasn't the best season, but it's something we can build off. Our team was learning this new formation, but we did have some top performers that we can rely upon going forward. I mean, Gyökeres was a brilliant goal scorer, 25 in 39, but it was Marcus Edwards who stood out with 31 goals in 44 appearances. A brilliant return from him. Fresneda had a good season despite being injury-ridden, whilst Morita, Gonçalves, Diamonde and Hjulmand were some of our best players. So overall, not the best start, but it's definitely a platform for us to go on from here. The only issue is we go into season 2 with a transfer budget of 4 million and 17,000 in the wages. It's not going to be easy to get some transfers done, but I'll try and move some players on, wiggle the finances around and hopefully improve this team. Before I do show you the transfers for Season 2 though, if you guys have watched the videos before, you know what's coming. This is where I ask you guys to show your support for me. If you could, smash the like button. It takes a few seconds to do and massively helps the videos here on the channel. And if you're looking to help the channel, why not subscribe as well? We're trying to hit 40k subs and we do a rebuild like this every single week. So if you enjoy this, you'll enjoy all the content that we've got to come. So make sure you hit that button if you haven't already, because a big percentage of you haven't yet subscribed. And if you did, we'd see a huge increase. Don't forget as well to comment what rebuild you'd like to see next. Every rebuild we do is based on your suggestions. And the final thing, if you want to support me as a creator, you can find my Patreon linked in the description. And if you check that out, it does help me massively. But in return, you do get access to the save files from every single one of these rebuilds. Season 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 of every rebuild that we've done. So you can take over and try and do a better job than I did at say Season 2 or 3. Or you can carry on after Season 5 and continue the work that we've started. So thank you to anybody who does any of those things, but let's check out the transfers because I think we had a pretty good window. Let's start off with the sales, and there's a few players to get through. Firstly, Ruben Vinagre came back after his loan at Hellas Verona, where he did okay in Serie A, but not great, and we've now just moved him on to get his wages off the books to AZ Alkmaar. And we also moved on Jovan Cabral, who's gone to Damak in Saudi Arabia for 1.5 million. Not the craziest fee in the world, but we can reinvest that. Mozambique international Jenny has also moved on. He's gone to play for Mallorca in Spain for 1.7 million. Our backup striker has also left the club. Paulinho has gone to play for Feyenoord in the Eredivisie for a fee of 1.8 million. He wanted to leave, having only started 6 games last year. To keep it realistic to real life, Fatawu has signed for Leicester after his loan. In this save, they didn't choose to activate that option, but I decided to sell him on so we didn't have access to him. Unfortunately, we only got £3.2 million for him, again from Mallorca, but we had to move him on to keep this as realistic as possible. And that's the same for Sebastian Coates, who we let go on a free. He's gone to join Al Shabab out in Saudi. The first of the big sales was Matthias Reis, who's moved on to Al Weda. He has gone to the United Arab Emirates club for a fee of 6 million, and that is it. That's a flat fee. He played a lot for us last season, but decided he wanted out with only a year left on his contract. I thought it made sense to move him on and cash in whilst we could. But the sale that we didn't really want to make was Hidmassa Morita, who has left the club age 29 to Al Qadsiya, again Saudi Arabia. I think we got a pretty good fee for him of £30 million. They only paid £3 million for him a couple of seasons ago, but he was really useful for us last year, so it is a shame that we've lost him. But I think we've replaced all of these players quite well. I haven't gone for any crazy names or anything like that, but I feel like the investments were good ones. We start off with Nuno Tavares, a 24-year-old fullback who joins us from Arsenal after his loan at Forest and Marseille. We have now bought him in for a fee of £6.5 million. I think not a bad deal for a guy that's now valued at over 10 million, and clearly, even though he hasn't lived up to his potential in the Premier League, there is a player there. Brian Aguirre is a new wide option that we've bought in from the Argentinian divisions from Newell's Old Boys for a fee of £7.75 million. He's been great over there for 2 seasons, so now we've bought him in, and I'm hoping he is going to be a big player for us, and the fact he's already rated at 4 stars at 21 tells me he should be one of our better players. We needed some options at left wing back though, so I spent another £5 million on Nicolas Fernandez Marçal, an Argentinian 24-year-old who joins us from Elche, where he was very good for them in the second tier. Our scouts raved about him, so we bought him in. If you don't know, in these videos, I only use my scouts' recommendations. I can't search up players that I want myself. The scouts have to report back on them, and only then can I sign them. That way, I can't use my own knowledge. But our replacement for our biggest loss, Morita, is going to be Salvatore Esposito, who is now valued at 17 million, age 23. The Italian looks like a great option for that central midfield role that we have in the team. He's a number 7 at the club, and he cost us a fee of £5.5 million from Spezia, where he was unreal in Serie B, and his career started pretty well for us here so far. In his first game, he got 2 goals and 2 assists. I doubt he'll be able to keep that up, but it's a great start for our new man. And this is what is now considered our best 11. Franco Israel is our best goalkeeper because Adan, who we had before, has now left the club. Now in real life, Sporting Club de Portugal did sign a new goalkeeper, but I couldn't find him in my save. But instead, I've decided we're going to go for the homegrown product, Diego Calais. I'm going to give him as many opportunities as I can to develop him and hope he turns into a very good goalkeeper for us. We've got Diamonde at the back with Saint Just, who comes into our best 11 now, and also Ignacio. In real life, Zeno de Bast was signed by the club, but in this save, he'd already gone to Inter Milan, so I wasn't able to pick him up as our Coates replacement. Our best right wing back stays the same. Esposito comes into the midfield, but we do see the introduction of Nuno Santos into our best 11, a winger who has now kind of transitioned into this left wing back role for us, has played a little bit last season and did okay. We'll see if he can kick on this year, but he has got competition with the new signings. And then the front three is still the same as it was. That's the best team we've got currently, and now we're going to see if the game rates our transfers, but clearly it doesn't because we've now gone down to 7-1 odds of winning the title, 3rd predicted finish. So clearly the game doesn't think we're going to do very well this season, but I have faith. I feel like the signings have been good ones. We've lost some key members of the squad, but we've also brought in some great young talents, so fingers crossed we can try and win some silverware in Season 2. I don't want to say I'm a better manager than Ruben Amorim, but this season has gone amazing. Let's start off with the negatives though, and that is the main aim of this save, to win a European competition. We were in the Europa League this year and got to the quarterfinals yet again, facing off against Celtic, who took the lead after 15 minutes at our stadium. But with 10 minutes left of the game, this brilliant pass found Nuno Santos in the area. He played it across to Gyökeres. That made it 1-1, and now it was all to play for as we went across to Scotland to fight for our place in the semi-finals at Celtic Park. And this game went all the way until extra time, and it was the 100th minute when Celtic managed to go forward. They played it across, Hull managed to stab it in. They ended up winning that game, and what was a pretty favourable draw for us ended up in defeat, and we were crashed out of the Europa League in the quarterfinals yet again. But fear not, we were pretty good in the other cup competitions. Firstly, the League Cup final, where we faced off against one of our rival clubs, Benfica, and opened the scoring after 10 minutes. But not even 30 seconds passed when Benfica hit back, Neres playing it through to Shelderup, who scored to make it 1-1. Again though, we were pretty deadly from the corner situations. Edwards playing it across to Ignacio, flicked it onto Diamonde, and that was 2-1. And not too long afterwards, Edwards again from the corner, playing it in, found Pedro Gonçalves on the right wing. He played it back to Edwards, who drove into the area, played a shot, and made it 3. But we weren't comfortable with that. We were still in the first half here, 3-1 up. Edwards received the ball in the area, laid it off to Pedro Gonçalves, and his brilliant shot made it 4-1. But again, another corner goal, this time for Benfica, finding João Mario on the edge of the area. He played it back to David Neres, back to João Mario. He turned, hit a swivelling shot, and it finished 4-2. We won our first bit of silverware in the rebuild. The Portuguese League Cup was ours. I don't know how we scored so many goals from corners. I haven't set any kind of crazy corner routine. I left it all up to the assistants, but clearly it was working. As was our football in general, which led us to the Portuguese Cup final, where this time we faced off against Porto. Barco opened the scoring for them though on the half-time mark, but thankfully with 65 minutes played, we managed to get the ball up the pitch, found Aguero in the box who drove past a man and finished brilliantly to equalise. That led to a penalty shootout where the first penalty was missed by Varela, and then every single penalty was scored up until that point when Nuno Santos stepped up and managed to finish the game for us and win the cup. So we won both domestic cup competitions, but how did we do in the league? Well, this year we really stepped up our game, and last year, where we were losing to the likes of Benfica and Porto, we did correct that. Here was one game we faced off against Benfica, and after 4 minutes Pedro Gonçalves scored. Benfica though are clearly a good side, and they did manage to capitalise on a defensive error from us, drove forward and equalised to make it 1-1. But the difference this year was we were getting over the line and winning these games, and this was one of them. In the 95th minute against a title rival, we managed to get forward and Gyökeres scored. It sent the fans crazy, and it was wins like that that helped us win the league with 84 points, 10 more points or so than we had last season, clear of Porto and Benfica by 10 points. Clearly they had a bit of a drop off considering they got 90 points the season before. Gyökeres was exceptional with 38 goals. Esposito had a great year with 13 league assists in his first season and plenty of goals too. We couldn't ask for too much more from our new signings, and that completed a domestic treble. Yes, Europe is the eventual goal for this save, but the fact we're already dominating in Portugal sends us the right message that we are taking this team in the right direction. But we did have some great performances this season. Gyökeres was fantastic with 53 goals and 49. Esposito, Edwards and Aguero were brilliant this year. Aguero in his first year only started 19 games but scored 15 goals in all comps. Gonçalves scored 18 and Diego Calais repaid the faith in goal with some good performances across the course of the season, only conceding 30 in the league. The only disappointment so far in this save, I would say, is Ivan Fresneda, who's a very talented young right wing back and I saw as the future of that position, but as you can see, even though I'm asking the assistant to start him every single game, he only played 13 times in season 1 and 12 times in season 2. The reason being, if we have a look at his injury record since we started this save, he has broken his pelvis, pulled his hamstring, done his cruciate ligaments, torn his knee ligaments. It's not going well for him so far. I'm starting to think he might be a little bit injury prone. So we might need to get a replacement for him, but we're not going to have too much money to do that with only £9 million a transfer budget. 100 grand a wage budget is good, mind you, but if we're going to sign anybody, we're going to have to make some big sales to really start improving this team. And after our performances last season and the tight budget that we had, I didn't go crazy in the transfer market, but I still think we have massively improved this squad. Starting off with the sales though, we did lose Alexandropoulos, who's a 23-year-old Greek international. We have sold him to Getafe for 875k. He's been at the club for a while and just really not done much, to be honest, so I've decided to let him go. And we also moved on Jerry St. Just, age 28, the Netherlands international, is going back to his home country to play for PSV. He wanted a new contract but was asking for a lot of money, and I just thought, you know what, I don't want to deal with him being an unhappy player. I'm not going to give a massive contract to an injury prone player, so he's moved on. We make about £5 million from him, but we have improved in that position. And the final sale was Francisco Trincao, who normally for me in FM is a brilliant player, but just hasn't quite worked out in the save so far. He hasn't started as many games as he wanted to, started 5 in season 1 and 1 in season 2. For that reason, he wanted to leave, so we've sold him on for a slight profit to Saudi Arabia. Good luck to him, but it is a sad loss because he is clearly a talented player. It just didn't work out from here. And like I say, the incomings weren't crazy, but I think they were necessary. Firstly, Sepp van der Berg offers us some good depth at centre-back. He signed on a free after his contract expired at Liverpool. He was good in the Bundesliga for Mainz, has played for Schalke, did play a little bit for Liverpool last season, but not much. The 23-year-old though is happy to be a squad player, and that's what we need. Some cover for our centre-backs, even if they're not going to start all the time. And the reason he won't start is because we have a new starting defender who we've bought in to replace Jerry St. Just. This is Igo Ogbu, who is a Nigerian international, 25 years of age and considered one of the best players at the club. He signed for a fee of 11.5 million from Slavia Prague, where he has been insanely good. He has cost us a pretty pricey fee, but it's a release clause deal. We've got it over the line, and he's another big aerial presence. The way that we're scoring from corners recently, maybe Ogbu can get some goals for himself. And the only other signing that is of note is Alan Rodriguez. The Uruguayan international 25-year-old offers us cover in both midfield, technically right back if we need him, left wing, but mainly is in as a right wing option. He is signed from Argentinos Juniors, where he's been really good for them. 5 million isn't a crazy fee at all for the player we've got here, and he's valued at far more than that. So I think this is a good signing. Again, couldn't go too crazy in the market, but I feel like we are slowly improving this team. But one of the main ways we're going to improve this squad is by giving these young players a chance to develop. I mean, Diamonde is unhappy. He wants to leave the club to move to a stronger squad, so that might be something that we have to deal with later, but he is a great young talent. Ignacio is doing great. The defensive three that we've got there are really strong. Calais developing. Our best 11 is still pretty much the same one from last season, so not any major changes other than Ugbu. If we have a look at the season preview, suddenly everything's changed. We're predicted a title win. 7-4 odds of winning it. We're now going into this as the best team in the country, and it's hard not to when you've got players like Gyökeres leading the line. What a star he is for us. He is going to be the main man, and now we're going to give it a go in season 3. We'll be going into the Champions League this year after winning the title last season, so fingers crossed we can start delivering, else we'll only have 2 seasons after that to actually win the title. Now, I said at the end of Season 2 that I might be a better manager than Ruben Amorim, but I think Season 3 came around purely to humble me because this season did not go as well. Let's start off with the Champions League, where we did finish in a qualification spot. We finished 13th in the table. We played 8 matches, won 4 of them against teams you would expect us to beat, 1 draw against Barcelona, and then 3 teams you'd expect to beat us did. But that led us to the knockout playoff round, where we managed to dispatch RB Salzburg, leading to a round of 16 clash against Manchester City. Now, City are obviously a very good team, but with this rebuild capped at 5 years, if we want to win the Champions League, we need to start competing against clubs like them, and we showed that we could do that. After 21 minutes, we scored 1 goal. Man City, though, obviously a team with plenty of great talent, did manage to hit back just on the brink of half-time, Foden finding Haaland, who equalised. But at our home stadium, with time ticking away, 60 minutes on the clock, it was Marcus Edwards who drove into the area, found Aguero, and he got us the win. That was 2-1, and now we were facing Man City at the Etihad. And we came into the match knowing a win would take us into the quarter-final, but after 3 minutes, it was kind of a sign of things to come. We gave the ball away to Haaland, he scored. Now, I'm not going to show you the rest of what happened because it's pretty embarrassing. City managed to score 7, we scored 3, we lost a tie 8-5 on aggregate. Not a bad effort, but a pretty humbling loss, and shows just how far we've got left to go. One competition we did manage to win was the Portuguese Super Cup. We managed to beat Porto 4-1, and it looked like the season was going to start really positively, but then we kind of got humble, because if you look at the rest of the competition, round of 16 exit to Man City, which you've seen, a semi-final exit of the Portuguese Cup to Benfica, a semi-final exit in the League Cup to Famalicão, which should not have happened, and then the league table, we got less points than last year. We finished on 78 points, we didn't win the title. Porto have taken it back off of us. Not our best performance considering last year it looked like we were home and dry and clear of Benfica and Porto, but it just shows we can't get ahead of ourselves here. But you will see, we started the season quite strong, lots of wins along the way, and then these months, particularly leading up to January, we were exceptional. But then suddenly, you can see it started to go downhill a little bit. Lots more losses and draws than we normally would have, and I found the reason why. In January, Viktor Gyökeres was taken from us. Our main man up front, the Swedish striker who'd been so good for us and had scored 21 goals in 17 up to that point, has signed for Man United. It was a release clause deal, hence why I had no idea that it happened. He scored 5 goals in 11 appearances for them, not doing too bad out in England, but it was a huge loss for us and really derailed our season because I had no idea he was gone, and unbeknownst to me, it left our best striker option as Brian Aguero, who did his best, but he is not a striker. Rodrigo Ribeiro is a young option, but never really played too much either. So it really did hurt us this year, and it definitely cost us, I think. I think if we didn't have that, we definitely could have done more in a domestic competition. I still think we would have been beat by Man City in the UCL, but you can see the amount of goals we lost with Gyökeres leaving has had a massive influence on the team. What it does mean, though, is we have a hefty transfer budget going into next year. 78 million, most of that Gyökeres money has gone back into the budgets, and this is the first time, really, we're going going to be able to spend big and really improve this team. So I'm going to do what I can with that money, try and sign some star players and get us back to the top of Portuguese football, but also make a team good enough to try and actually compete with the likes of Man City and win the Champions League. And this was certainly our biggest window yet. That Gyökeres transfer really gave us some massive transfer funds, and I've spent nearly £100 million on players. Before we get into the big transfers though, the last time I'll ask you, if you haven't yet and you are enjoying, smash that like button for me, but don't worry, I won't ask again. Let's see who he signed and who he sold. And it really was a season of big change here at Sporting Club de Portugal. Gyökeres was gone, but lots of other first team players left too. The first one being Yashari, who we have sold to AZ Alkmaar for 300k, wasn't playing much, and then, yeah, wanting to leave, so we sold him. It was a pretty poor transfer on our end, didn't really work out, but not all of them do. Thankfully though, they decided, you know what, do you want to have him back on loan for the year for no money? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Sepp van der Berg also didn't work out. We signed him on a free, so it wasn't the end of the world, but he wanted to play more than the free opportunities he got in the season, and has moved to AZ Alkmaar for about £1 million. Let's get into the big sales though now. The first one was our first youth academy player that's moved on for a lot of money. We have been producing some good young talent here, but this is the first one that's left for a big fee. This is Pau, who we have sold on for 6.5 million to Chelsea. In fact, it looks like our director of football picked him up on a free from the Atletico Madrid Youth Academy, and then we've brought him in, played him for a season. He played 19 times as a bench player for our youth team, and then sold on for 6.5 mil. Thank you, Chelsea, I guess. Daniel Braganca, though, is a player that I think we will miss a lot. He isn't necessarily the world's best player in terms of star ratings, if you want to judge him by that, but he has great attributes, and in-game he was playing really well for us when called upon. You can see he played a lot of minutes for us in the first 2 years, then we loaned him out to Brianza and was good there too in Serie B. Now he's moved to Al Fateh in Saudi Arabia for 13.5 million. It's a loss, but it's a lot of money to reinvest. But the biggest loss of all is probably our star man, Diamonde. If he wasn't our star man, Gyökeres was, and we've lost both of them. His reason was he had 1 year left on his deal now and still had no interest in signing a new contract, so I had to make the choice, either keep or sell him. Thankfully, we did get a pretty decent fee. Real Madrid came in for 59 million. It wasn't, you know, the most we could have ever got for him. He is one of the best centre-backs in the world, but it is a good amount, and I think it's something we can at least take with us. And he wasn't necessarily our best player either in terms of ratings. He was very good, but is potentially replaceable. Either way though, we lose him. He's a great player, and with how good he is, he was always going to move on from us, but it was a lot of money now to bring new players into the team. Firstly, we have a backup striker, just in case our main striker ever gets poached again. We have someone there. This is Fernino, the Spanish 25-year-old who joins on a free from Burgos in the Spanish second division, where he's been exceptional and now is going to be a very good squad player for us. But the new Victor Gyökeres is going to be Karim Konate, the 22-year-old Ivorian, signing from Salzburg for a big fee of 23 million quid, which is a lot of money for Sporting Club de Portugal to spend. I understand that. We also did just make like 150 million in sales, so I think we can spend some cash, and this was our biggest signing out of all of them. So I think it's fair enough. He's been unreal in Austria, and now we're hoping he can take the step up to Portugal and continue his goal-scoring exploits. Emerson Royal has signed on a free contract. The Brazilian 27-year-old now is a very good player, I think, from Tottenham on a free. Do I think he's good enough to be the star man for ages? No, but as a free transfer, it's a very good pickup. I'm happy with it, and Emerson is a new player in our team. At left wing back, we saw the introduction of Borna Sosa, who is signed from Ajax, age 28, for 15 million quid. A lot of money for us, and an older player than we normally go for, but I needed a new left wing back, and for me, he was one of the best on the market. Attributes wise, he should be phenomenal, so fingers crossed this one works out well. We've added a new midfielder to our ranks too, really trying to improve the team as opposed to just buying 2 players to replace the guys we've lost. We're going for an all-out squad upgrade. This is Oussama Targelin, who's a 24-year-old Moroccan international with 34 caps already, a very good player that we've signed from the French leagues, from Le Havre, where he has been very good, and we've only paid £14 million for him, rising to 16. A great deal for a player who is so good technically. But there's 2 more signings to go, both of which are from Salzburg. We already got Konate from them. We've also taken Oumar Soleil, a new centre-back option, age 26. The Frenchman is coming in as a star player, great with the ball at his feet, and maybe could actually be a good replacement for Diamonde. He's been great again out in Austria. 15 million isn't a lot, so I feel like this could be a real good pickup. But we also bought in Strahinja Pavlovic, Pavlovic as well. He is also from Salzburg, 25-year-old Serbian international, a great defender, left-footed, decent with the ball at his feet. He's been great for Salzburg too, an aerial presence. 20 million quid nearly is that fee if all the add-ons go through, but I think he easily replaces Diamonde with the players we bought in. Are they quite Diamonde level? No. Are they quite Gyökeres level? No, but I think all of them combined definitely make up for the players we've lost. And this best 11 is now absolutely stacked. We've got Diego Calais in goal, who is developing really well now, age 22, and he has been good for us since we gave him the opportunity. Sole, Ogbo and Ignacio is a great defence. You could argue that will change slightly across the course of the season as Pavlovic gets involved. Nuno Tavares is at right wing back. We've got Santos at left wing back. Esposito and Kulmund make up the central midfield, and then we've got Goncalves, Edwards and Konate in the attack. So still keeping those wingers in the club. We've got a really good bench now, lots of great players throughout the team. If we have a look at the season preview, we are coming for the title this season, but the game predicts second place this time. I think that's surprising. I feel like our team's got better, but second place is a predicted finish. Interesting to see as well that two of our new signings are two of the best players in the league and two of the best players that we own, so that's definitely a good sign that we're going in the right direction. The game doesn't think we'll win the league, so how are we going to win the Champions League? Well, we're going to give it our best shot. I think this is the best squad we've had yet, so fingers crossed we can start getting closer to Champions League glory. Okay, Season 4 is complete, and again, it's a very interesting one. I haven't had any kind of linear progress in this save so far. We had a poor year last year. This season, we were improved in some areas, but not in others. Let's start off with the Portuguese Cup. You can see we didn't make the final. Porto did win it. We actually got knocked out in the 6th round by Porto, 2-0 extra time loss. And the Portuguese League Cup, you'll see again, we're not in the final. We got knocked out in the semi-final by Estrela, 2-1. So again, a very disappointing defeat in the domestic competitions. But the Champions League this year, we put in a good shift. We managed to qualify for the knockout stages again, beating AC Milan in the knockout playoff round with a great result, and then moving in to the round of 16 where we faced off against Victor Gyökeres and Manchester United. And I think we got in his head because he dropped a stinker for United in the first leg at our home stadium, and we managed to open the scoring after 5 minutes. His opposite number, Konate, scoring, that put us 1-0 up going into the second leg. And at Old Trafford, Victor Gyökeres once again dropped a stinker. Unfortunately though, there's other players on the pitch for United, one of which was Jadon Sancho, who equalised after 34 minutes. But with 86 minutes on the clock and it looked like we were heading to extra time, we received the ball in an attacking area. Emerson Royale managed to dart past the right side, find Konate, he scored, he made it 2-1, and maybe he's a better player than Gyökeres after all, because we were in to the Champions League quarter-finals, where we couldn't have asked for a better start. We faced off against Bayern Munich, and after 45 seconds on the clock, Nuno Tavares managed to score to make it 1-0, and that was the result for the game. Unfortunately though, we went to the Allianz Arena and lost 4-0, so we lost the tie 4-1 on aggregate, but we did knock out AC Milan, we knocked out Manchester United, and Bayern did go on to go very far in the competition, so it wasn't the worst loss in the world, but thankfully we did get some silverware because the league, we had a much better performance this year. And there was no greater highlight of how far we've came this season than our final match of the year where we faced off against Porto, a team that managed to beat us to the title last season. This time though, we opened the scoring after 6 minutes. And not too long afterwards, it was our signature move, another set piece routine led to a goal. Pedro Gonçalves finding Karim Konate, who scored his first of the game. We had a free kick on the 25th minute though, played into Soleil, another one of our new signings helping us take the lead at 3-1. Porto did hit back though in the 34th minute, Evan Nilsson making it 3-1. But then we had a free kick, laid it off to Karim Konate, who managed to get it past the goalkeeper to make it 4. We then drove forward in the 55th minute, Marcus Edwards receiving the ball in the area and scoring past the goalkeeper to make it 5-1. And before we knew it, it was 6. Huymund receiving the ball, finding Emerson Royale on that right wing back position. He played it across and Pedro Gonçalves added another. And not comfortable with 2 goals, Karim Konate decided, you know what, I'd like to finish off the season in style, a 10 rating, a hat-trick, and helping us to a 7-2 win. And that shows just how much we smashed it in the league. We managed to finish 7 points ahead of Porto, beating them 7-2 on the last day of the season. Karim Konate with 26 goals, Marcus Edwards with 20, who's been a brilliant player for us in this simulation so far. So yes, the domestic cup competitions might not have gone well, but we're back on top in the league. We've managed to beat some big clubs in the Champions League, even if we did lose to Bayern, and we've got some top performers across the pitch too, and lots of goals going in, which we didn't have last year. Borna Sosa was great, Edwards and Konate were fantastic, Huymund, Ugbu, Aguer, amongst many of the players on this team doing really well. Fresneda has his first season without a massive injury hit, but as you can see, his potential has really gone now after all of those injuries. And overall, just a very, very good season to build from. And now we head into the 5th season with £43 million in the bank. And let's be honest, at this point, our team isn't Champions League ready. We're not going to win the UCL with the squad we've got, even if we can show that we can compete with the big boys. Either we're going to need a lot of luck, or we need some new players to take this team to another level. But we've got one more transfer window to make that happen. And we finished off Season 5 with another very busy window. We sold nearly £100 million of players and spent £70 million on incoming, so let's get into those. Firstly, Nuno Santos, a brilliant servant for us, has left age 32. He was on something like 25 grand a week and wanted 75,000 for his last contract, and I couldn't whittle him down, so we've decided to move him on with a year left on his deal. 5 million to Al Weda, good look out in Saudi, but it's time for him to move on. Alan Rodriguez came in Season 2, I think it was, but he's now moved on to Al Kharij out in Saudi Arabia for a fee of 12.5 million. He's been a good player for us since he signed, but it was time for him to move on. We make a nice profit, he gets a nice fat paycheck as well. It works out for all of us. But our two biggest sales went to Saudi Arabia also. The first one is Nuno Tavares, a Portuguese international, is now getting 600 grand a week at Al Ittihad, who paid 35 million pounds for him. Not bad for a guy that we signed for 6.5 million, used for a couple of seasons to a decent level, and now sell him on for a big, big profit. And speaking of profit, Strahinja Pavlovic came in last season. We bought him in for, I think it was 20 million, and we sold him on the year after for 40 million, which could rise as well to 50. Not a bad piece of business at all, and it's exactly what we need to do if we're going to keep this club going in the right direction. Again, 600 grand a week, Saudi Arabia, Al Ali for him. Good luck to him, but we took that money and we reinvested it. Firstly, Lorenzo Parola comes in as a great centre-back option who only wants to be a squad player, and this guy is like high-level Premier League quality, so the fact we bought him in and he only wants to be a squad player shows how far we've came in this team. He's a left-footed defender joining from Salernitana out in Italy, and I think that's a great shrewd pickup for no money at all. The first new-gen signing, for any of you that continue on Patreon, you will have Yannick Friedel in your ranks, amongst many other great young players that we've been developing in the under-19s, and I have promoted quite a lot of them into the first team. But this is the first one I've gone out and signed, and you can see why. 18 years of age, a great player with huge potential. Maybe the next Eden Hazard, I don't quite know, but he has been playing for Union SG, not been playing amazing, but our scouts really recommended him highly. Give him the chance and you might see him grow into a top-level player. But a player that is already top-level and our Nuno Tavares replacement is Owen Vindel, who joins us from Ajax. 25 million quid is the fee. He has been great for a few seasons. It could rise to a little bit over 25 mil, but I think he's worth the money. I mean, he's now valued at 50 million. He's a Netherlands international in his prime and a great addition to our back line. But speaking of additions to our back line, Pavlovic leaving led the way to a new incoming in Abakar Silla, a fan favourite of the rebuilds here on the channel. He came in from Strasbourg, where he has been fantastic for 4 seasons consistently in Ligue 1. 34.5 million, rising to 36. What a signing, what a player. We lost Diamonde, the Ivorian international. Now we have Abakar Silla. And just to show you as well, the Ivory Coast national team, what a defence they're going to have. Singo, Diamonde, Ndika, Silla, what a lineup. And speaking of strong lineups, this is what is now considered our best 11. Diego Calais is in goal as one of the best goalkeepers of his age bracket in the world, and starting now for Brazil, we've got Soleil at centre-back alongside Ugbu, who's proved to be a very good signing for the price we paid for him. He is now a regular starter at centre-back and a very good option there. Ignacio has been one of the legends of this team. He's been here since the start and has done really well for us, with Emerson Royale and Vindel on the wing-backs, Esposito and Hoonland in the middle. Just to show you, Esposito has been fantastic since signing. What a pickup he was for 5 million quid. And then Hoyland is just a really, really good player. I don't really know too much about him in real life, but clearly there's a big talent here at Sporting Club de Portugal and a very big future in the Danish national team for him too, I'm sure. Edwards is on the right wing, Gonçalves on the left, and then Konate through the middle, with loads of great players on the bench and in the reserves too. I mean, Aguirre has been a fantastic pickup too since we picked him up really early on for 7.75 million. The team is ready to go. I'm assuming we should be favourites for the title with the players we've got, and we are 6-5 favourites for it. Silla and Konate are 2 best players. I've just realised Konate is another Ivorian too, isn't he? So clearly this is the place for Ivorians to play their football, but we're ready to go. One final season, season 5. Can we win the Champions League? It will be a push, and we have failed trying to get this target in the last few rebuilds, but maybe this time things will be different, but I'm going to cross my fingers and pray. And our final season was a historic one. I'm not going to reveal every single trophy just yet, but let's go in order and start off with the League Cup, where once again we made it to the final. We played against Chavez this time, and we were able to get the win, with the pick of the goals being this one from Edwards, which led to a 2-1 victory. And in the Portuguese Cup, we came up against VTSC in the final. We did manage to open the scoring after 11 minutes, Vindal driving into the area and finding Canate, but they did manage to make it 1-1 through Salcedo, and it took until the second half of extra time where we hit a signature corner routine. Ugbu rose highest, he got us the winner, so that was both domestic cup competitions won. And in the league, we continued our dominance also. We managed to get the domestic treble, we beat Benfica to the title. It was them that was the closest challengers this year, not Porto, despite their top goal scorer being Tony Martinez and Evan Nilsson also scoring 19. But we got over the line, 88 points, only 2 losses all season to VTSC and Porto, and only 4 draws as well. A brilliant year, so that's 3 trophies won in Portugal. But what about the Champions League? Well, let's take you on what might be a long journey. We made it into the knockout playoff rounds once again against Real Madrid, and they opened the scoring. Not too long afterwards though, we hit them with a signature set piece routine coming in, Aguirre picking up the ball on the edge of the area and hitting this brilliant shot past Courtois to make it 1-1. Not too long afterwards, Emerson Royal burst down the right hand side, the former Barcelona player scoring against Real Madrid and making it 2-1. And in the 70th minute, Esposito hit the corner, find Igo Ugbu, he managed to rise high, the ball came out to Aguirre, who volleyed it home, and that made it 3-1 in the knockout playoff round against Real Madrid, one of the hardest teams we could have faced at that stage of the competition. We drew 1-1 in the other leg, so we made it through to the round of 16. And if Real Madrid wasn't a hard enough match, in the round of 16 we faced off against Inter Milan, Karim Canate scoring the pick of the goals to take us through. And if our time in the Champions League wasn't already tough enough, the quarterfinals put us up against Manchester City. We played Real Madrid, we played Inter, and now it was the time to play the English champions. And after a very close 2-legged affair, it was 3-3 on aggregate, and we headed in to the final few minutes at the Etihad, 20 minutes to play. Canate threaded the ball through to Edwards, he played a great ball into Targaline, who powered home past Edison. We managed to beat Man City, Real Madrid and Inter also knocked out, and now we were heading to a Champions League semi-final against another English side in Chelsea. In the home leg, it was a tight affair, but Fernino scored from the penalty spot to put us 1-0 up. Diego Calle, our goalkeeper, got the Man of the Match award in that game, and he also got it in the second leg too, keeping out plenty of chances and keeping us in the game until the final minutes. With the score sitting at 1-0, Aguirre found Targaline, he ran forward, powered it past Trubin, and we were now heading to a Champions League final. We'd knocked out City and Chelsea, there was another English club coming in Manchester United, the home of Victor Gyökeres. But we came into this game with the Champions League in our sights, and after only 57 seconds, Pedro Gonçalves went close in the area, threaded it past Anana to put us 1-0 up, and with only 12 minutes played, Manchester United tried to play out of defence. Marcus Edwards poached on the error, put it past the goalkeeper with a brilliant chip to make it 2. This time though, Victor Gyökeres didn't have as much of a stinker of a game, he was very much involved, and he actually provided the assist for Mason Mount, who managed to score to make it 2-1 with 25 minutes left. But despite Gyökeres' efforts, the scores stayed the same. It was 2-1, we had beaten Manchester United, and Sporting Club de Portugal had won the Champions League. And that gives me great relief to say, because as I mentioned earlier, in the last few rebuilds, the Champions League has been the goal, and we've always fell at the final hurdle, but this time we did it, and not only that, we won the League, the Portuguese Cup, and the Portuguese League Cup too. 4 cup competitions coming home with us, and we did also win the Portuguese Super Cup. Make that 5, I didn't even mention that. That is 5 trophies won. Sporting Club de Portugal are European champions, and we had plenty of great performers to thank for it. Ignacio has been one of the main men for us over the course of this rebuild, and scored 9 this season, which is incredible. But despite his efforts, Marcus Edwards' efforts, and Karim Canate's, they're only sitting on the favoured personnel section, not quite making it onto the long list of icons that the club already has. We've got near enough maximum facilities as well. We're working on an upgrade to the stadium's capacity too, and we have taken this club to a 4.5-star reputation. Diamonde, if he was still here, would probably have stuck around, as would Gyökeres, but now they both left the club and they missed out on plenty of trophies. But what a rebuild it's been, plenty of great young talent, an amazing squad built. Let me know who you want to see next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.